When the federal agent stepped out of the unmarked car, the man standing outside the Montana high school froze. He didn't ask who they were looking for. He didn't look at his wife, who was standing right next to him asking what was wrong. He just dropped his head, because after 30 years of lying to everyone he loved, he knew the name Ryan Keller had finally come back to haunt him. To understand why a quiet history teacher was terrified of his own name, we have to go back to the cold night in Maine where he supposedly died. But before we open the case file, I need to know who is investigating with me today. I check the comments. Tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your city down below. And listen, we are pushing hard for 1,000 subscribers to keep this channel growing. I need you to pick a side right now. If you think you can spot a liar better than the FBI, hit that subscribe button. Join the team, and let's see if you can solve this before the handcuffs come out. On November 17, 1995, 21-year-old Ryan Keller walked out of the library at the University of Maine. He told his roommate he was going to grab a late snack and finish his paper. He never made it to his car. Police found his vehicle in the parking lot the next morning. The keys were still in the ignition. His backpack was on the passenger seat. The engine was cold. It looked like he had been interrupted mid-motion, snatched out of his life in seconds without a struggle. His mother, Patricia, spent every weekend for the next decade taping flyers to storefront windows. His father, David, stayed quiet, refusing to speak to reporters. The case went cold, and for 30 years, the town of Orono believed Ryan was a tragic victim. But the files hiding in the police basement told a different story. A DNA match in 2024 proved that Ryan wasn't a victim. He was alive, living under a stolen name with a new family. He claimed he ran to save his life. But the evidence suggests he wasn't running from danger, he was running from a crime. Before Ryan disappeared, Orono, Maine, was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked. It was quiet. Predictable. The Keller family lived in a small house that looked perfect from the sidewalk. But we all know that the quietest houses often hide the loudest secrets. Ryan was a typical junior in college. He worked at a hardware store, studied literature, and had a steady girlfriend. But in the fall of 1995, that changed fast. His roommate, Tyler, told police that Ryan started acting strange. He stopped hanging out. He took late-night phone calls and whispered so no one could hear. When Tyler asked him what was wrong, Ryan just shut down. It was like a wall went up. His mother, Patricia, saw it too. She said her son looked haunted. But the real problem wasn't Ryan. It was his father, David. David Keller had a secret that was eating the family alive from the inside out. He had borrowed a significant amount of money from a loan shark named Vincent Marino. The debt was growing, and Marino wasn't the kind of man who sent late notices, he sent threats. Ryan wasn't blind. He saw the stress on his father's face. He heard the arguments through the thin walls. He knew the family was in trouble. Let's pause for a second. We see this in cases like Chris Watts or Scott Peterson, families that look perfect until you look closer. Do you think Ryan's parents were trying to protect him, or were they using him as a shield? If you think the parents knew exactly what was coming, hit the like button right now. Let's see how many of you smell a rat this early in the story. Detective Margaret Sullivan was the first to notice that the pieces didn't fit. She interviewed everyone close to Ryan, and they all said the same thing: he wasn't acting like a kid planning a vacation. He was acting like a kid who was cornered. The FBI took a brief look at the case, but without a body or a ransom note, they backed off. They assumed he was a runaway. But the behavior analysis unit noted years later that Ryan's withdrawal matched someone living in fear, not someone seeking freedom. If the investigation had stopped there, Ryan would have remained just another face on a flyer. But 30 years later, a new detective decided to open a box that had been gathering dust in storage. And what they found inside turned the runaway student theory into a potential murder investigation. In 2024, when the cold case unit cracked open the old files, they realized how thin the original investigation really was. A few reports, some photos of the car, and a missing person form. It was pathetic. But stuck at the bottom of the stack was a folder labeled Witness Statements, Secondary. This folder contained the smoking gun that the original police force missed completely. Inside was a report from a warehouse worker in South Boston, dated February 1996, 3 months after Ryan vanished. The worker claimed he saw a young man running out of a storage building near the waterfront. The guy looked terrified, checking over his shoulder as he sprinted away. Moments after he ran, the worker heard a loud thud from inside the warehouse. The next morning, police found the body of Vincent Marino, the loan shark Ryan's father owed money to, lying on that warehouse floor. The worker tried to tell the police, but because he couldn't describe the runner's face perfectly, the lead investigator wrote cut due to lack of description on the file. They never connected it to the missing kid from Maine. But modern detectives saw it immediately: the height, the build, the hair. It was a perfect match for Ryan Keller. This is where the story gets dark. We have a missing student and a dead loan shark in the same timeline. Before I show you the piece of evidence that proves Ryan was there, I need you to share this video with a friend who loves solving mysteries. Get them in here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. We are digging up the truth that was buried for 3 decades, and you don't want to miss the ending. The detectives didn't stop at the witness report. They pulled toll records from 1996. They found a car matching the description of the vehicle Ryan had access to, crossing state lines into Massachusetts late at night, multiple times in a 3-week span. The plates were blurry, but the pattern was undeniable. Someone was making secret trips to Boston. Then came the physical evidence. A private investigator who worked for the Keller family back in the 90s had passed away, and his belongings were auctioned off. The new team recovered a box marked Keller. Inside, they found a cassette tape. They played it. It was Ryan's voice, sounding shaky and desperate. He said, "I can't keep doing this. You're going to get all of us hurt." He wasn't talking to a friend. He was talking to someone he feared. The PI also left handwritten notes. He wrote that Ryan had asked him to follow a car in Bangor but refused to say why. The PI noted that Ryan looked drained and ready to vanish. The picture was becoming clear. This wasn't a kid who ran away to start a band or find himself. This was a young man caught in a dangerous game between his father and organized crime. The timeline of his disappearance lined up perfectly with the death of the man threatening his family. And there was one final detail that sealed it. A delivery driver near the Boston warehouse reported seeing a young man with a wrist injury fleeing the scene. Ryan's medical records from his freshman year showed a chronic wrist issue that forced him to favor his left hand. The question changed instantly. Detectives weren't asking where did Ryan go anymore. They were asking, did Ryan Keller kill Vincent Marino? The break in the case didn't come from a witness coming forward or a confession letter. It came from a lab coat. In 2024, investigators took a swab from the inside of the jacket Ryan left in his car 30 years ago. In the 90s, it was useless. Today, it was a map. They ran it through a genetic genealogy database. It didn't find Ryan directly. Instead, it found a teenage girl in Bozeman, Montana, who had taken a DNA test for a school project. The database said she was a close match or daughter. But her father's name wasn't Ryan Keller. It was Michael Brennan. Michael Brennan was a high school history teacher. He was married, had 2 kids, and coached the debate team. His digital footprint was clean, too clean. There were photos of him from the last 20 years, but nothing from before 1996. It was like he was born at age 22. The FBI didn't rush in. They watched him. For 3 days, agents followed the history teacher through his routine. They waited until he threw a coffee cup into a public trash can outside a bakery. They bagged it, rushed it to the lab, and waited. The match was perfect. The man teaching history in Montana was the same man who vanished from the library in Maine. This brings us back to that moment outside the school. When the agents approached him, the color drained from his face. He didn't try to run this time. He looked at the agents, then at his wife, and whispered, "It's over." He admitted his real name right there on the sidewalk. But back in the interrogation room, the story got complicated. Ryan, now Michael, told them he ran because he was terrified. He said his father's death had put a target on his back, and leaving was the only way to keep his mother safe. He cried when they told him she had died waiting for him to come home. It was a heartbreaking scene. But the detectives weren't buying the tears completely. They slapped the warehouse photo on the table. They played the tape. They asked about the 3 missing months between his disappearance and the day he started his new life in Montana, the exact same months Vincent Marino was murdered. Ryan denied it all. He said the trips to Boston were just to scout a way out. He claimed he never stepped foot in that warehouse. But he couldn't explain why he waited until after the loan shark was dead to finally settle down and start his new life. The ending of this story isn't neat. It's messy, and it hurts. Because of the statutes of limitations and the lack of direct physical evidence placing Ryan inside the warehouse, the district attorney couldn't charge him with murder. Their missing person case was closed. Ryan Keller was found. He is currently free, living in a strange limbo between his old life and the one he built on a lie. The fallout was brutal. His wife in Montana was devastated. Her entire marriage was built on a fiction. His daughters have to reconcile the father they love with the man who abandoned his first family. And back in Maine, the town is furious. They mourned a victim, only to find out he was hiding in plain sight. Ryan claims he is a survivor who made a hard choice to protect his family. The police believe he is a man who got away with a major crime and used disappearing as his getaway car. This is where you come in. I need you to be the jury. Look at the facts, the debt, the threats, the witness at the warehouse, the missing months, and the sudden escape. Do you think Ryan Keller was a scared kid running for his life? Or do you think he helped eliminate the threat before he left? Go to the comment section right now. Type innocent if you think he ran from fear. Type guilty if you think he's hiding a murder. I'll be down there reading your theories. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to be part of the next investigation. We are just getting started.